Vanakam, Namaskar. I'm back on air trying to put forward my thoughts on a very important matter which we all feel in our life: inflation. Now, what is inflation? In simple common man terminology, too much of money chasing too few goods or services, right? So my question to my own self was, does inflation really exist, or it has been driven out of proportions? So one thing is certain: inflation does exist, because when we say India is registering a GDP of growth of 6.5-7% 23-24 and expected to grow by 7.5% 24-25, it means there is inflation. Inflation within manageable limits is good to the economy. It contributes to the growth of the economy. But beyond a certain point, it is detrimental to at the macro level to the country's economy, and at the micro level to the individual and his family. So one thing is very certain: there is inflation. There's no doubt in it. Because without inflation, country will not grow. Neither will you grow financially. Now the question is it manageable or is it beyond? A lot of people could feel it is heavy inflation, high inflation. But out of my personal experience, I wish to convey my thoughts that if you really don't want inflation to hit your house and hit your pocket, just do a bit of self-introspection and put it into action. Okay? When you have income or when you don't have income to the required level, always keep one thing: an individual, a family has to be very prudent in choosing what it has to buy. Everybody, I would not say, a lot of people want to buy anything and everything which they can't even afford. So in the bargain, there is a demand for the product and the service, creating scarcity for that moment alone, which makes price rise. Okay? And the person who genuinely wants to buy it is not able to buy it because he doesn't have the income. So do you understand? Just because a lot of people are recklessly spending, you're making things difficult for others who really require it. For example, the real estate properties, the gold, air travel, everybody is recklessly traveling. So people who have to travel on an emergency are not able to afford it because the air travel is expensive. People who want to buy properties find it very expensive because everybody is indulging in reckless buying and creating a demand for the product. Gold, okay? Of course, all this prudency, before it hurts the others, it hurts the individual who's spending. Just keep one thing in mind. At the end of the video, try to analyze and write on a piece of paper what is the expenditure that you really require to do. Food, clothing, shelter, education, those you can't avoid. But you will find out very quickly there are so many things which you are spending which you needn't do. They are not your necessity. Cut on those expenses and put it into investments, into those products which have a positive impact of inflation. Equity mutual funds. Right? So by you being prudent, you're minimizing expenses, making things easier for others to buy, and the bargain, when you are saving on expenses, there's more of distributable income in your hands which you can divert into areas which have a positive effect, investment into areas which have positive effect on inflation, namely the equity mutual funds and other financial products. So you understood the prudency of yours when it comes to spending helps you and even the others in the bargain. So this, you will yourself feel all of a sudden, yeah, the inflation has gone down by 50-60% because you're having more distributable income, because you've identified the real necessities and what you don't need. Of course, it's true. Last 5 years, India is experiencing, last 5 to 15 years rather, India is experiencing the least inflation. See, when it comes to inflation, we are talking about Consumer Price Index, CPI. So a lot of people feel just because the food has become very expensive, which is a fact, they feel the country is experiencing big inflation. No. Food is a part of the CPI basket of services and goods. So just because food is escalating, it doesn't mean economy is suffering overall high inflation. Food inflation high, but the Consumer Price Index CPI inflation is low, all-time low in the last 5 years. And why is the food inflation high? Because every alternate family in our neighborhood wants to go out on a Saturday or twice or thrice in a month and dine in a restaurant, creating demand for food. That also is a reason why inflation in food is there. So keep one thing in mind. You are going to be very prudent, not allow the inflation to enter your house and hit your pocket. And keep one thing in mind. You being tight-fisted, your children, your grandchildren are watching you. So they will also start doing the same. The result means for generations together, they will always have surplus in their budget. Their income will always be more than the expenditure. I know people, just because of credit cards, they keep swiping for every now and then, for everything which they don't need. And at the end of the 10th or the 15th day of the month, they're left with a few thousands of rupees in their pocket. Warren Buffett said, if you buy things today which you don't require, you'll have to sell things which you require later. So buy what you require. This is the best way of stopping to complain about inflation and trying to be happy and contented. Right? Now what I'm saying, at the end of the video, you might say, will a lot of people practice it? No. Sir, Warren Buffett said this investment philosophy for decades together. But not even 1% of people have truly got on and followed it. And I'm one of the privileged few who follows it with my family. Okay? I know if everybody starts following, there'll be recession in the country. Imagine nobody's buying. But don't worry. That will not happen. Because out of every 1 crore people listening to what I'm saying, it will be the few privileged. Only 1,000 people will do it. And if you're the 1,000, don't regret. Don't feel shy. Thank yourself. Nanri. Jai Hind. See you later.